You're sitting there. The deadline looms, the project stares you down, but you can't move. You want to, you plan to, but the gap between intention and action feels infinite. This isn't just inertia, it's a conflict, a profound inner friction against taking the very first step. It's the moment the mind makes the smallest action monumental, an insurmountable mountain that must be conquered. You feel you must summon an ocean of willpower to push against this invisible wall. But what if that internal force is exactly what is paralyzing you? What if the harder you try to force the start, the more force you require, creating a devastating feedback loop of inaction? In ancient China, Taoist philosophers understood this struggle not as a failure of character, but as a failure of approach. They introduced a concept called Wu Wei, often translated too simply as non-action. A truer interpretation is effortless action, or aligning with the natural flow. Wu Wei isn't passive laziness, it's the intelligence of knowing when to stop pushing against the current and start moving with it. Think about water. Water doesn't force its way through solid rock. It yieldingly finds the crack, the subtle path of least resistance, and gradually dissolves obstacles that brute force could never conquer. Your current struggle to start is you attempting to blast through the rock of your own resistance with raw effort. You're creating friction, not action. You are the dam holding back the river of your potential, and the pressure on the wall is immense. To apply this to your modern-day struggle with starting, you must stop viewing the first step as a monumental push. Instead, embrace the flow by lowering the threshold of action until it is genuinely effortless. You aren't committing to the entire project today. That is a trap set by your mind. Your only objective is to allow the smallest possible unit of action to materialize, making the force required microscopic. If the first step is to write a report, don't start by saying, write the first section. That demands massive force against your inertia. Instead, apply Wu Wei by aiming for the effortlessly achievable. Open the laptop, that's it. It requires almost zero effort. If you can do that, allow the next effortless step. Type one single word, not a sentence, not an idea, just one word, perhaps the title, or even just the date. By making the initiation laughably small, you bypass the massive wall of psychological resistance that demands perfect, significant effort from the outset. You are finding the crack in the rock. When you act effortlessly, you aren't expending massive energy, you are conserving it, channeling it efficiently. Once the tiniest crack is found, once the smallest droplet makes its way through, the flow is unlocked. Momentum is the modern term for this. But for the Taoist, it is the natural consequence of moving with the river. Action begets action. That single meaningless word you typed makes typing the second word slightly easier, slightly more flow-inducing. The first word is the start of the river. You don't jump into the ocean, you step into the stream. By embracing the tiniest, almost non-existent beginning, you engage with the natural cycle that amplifies movement. You stop trying to ignite a massive engine with a spark plug. Instead, you build the spark, then the fire, then the inferno. Effortless action removes the fear of failure by removing the stakes of the start. The real struggle isn't with the task itself. It is the battle against your idea of the struggle. You imagine the entire journey and become overwhelmed at the first coordinate. Stop looking at the destination. Embrace the immediacy and absolute minimal nature of Wu Wei. Right now, ask yourself, what is the absolute smallest, most meaningless, least effortful thing I can do to allow this flow to begin? Forget good or right. Simply allow the most minimal potential to unlock. If it is starting an exercise routine, your effortlessly achievable step is just putting on your shoes. Do nothing else. If you stop there, you have applied Wu Wei to initiate. But often, the simple friction-free act of putting on the shoes invites the next effortless motion. The dam breaks not with a massive collapse, but with a simple trickling stream that eventually dissolves the structure. Be that stream. Stop pushing, start yielding, starting small, and flow. The hardest part is realizing the smallest step is the true mastery. It's a paradoxical truth. To achieve great things, you must stop trying so hard and instead learn how to allow. Your struggle is not laziness, it is a desperate attempt to conquer a mountain you have built in your mind. The heavy resistance you feel is not the weight of the task, but the gravity of your own expectation, that the beginning must be perfect, significant, and full of effort. You are paralyzed by the potential significance of the first step. To invoke Wu Wei is to embrace insignificance. Accept that your initial action will be small, perhaps messy, and entirely lacking in force. That is not failure. That is flow. It is the wisdom of the germinating seed that doesn't burst forth fully grown, but simply exerts the minimal, quiet pressure needed to pierce the soil. When you find the effortlessly small threshold, the resistance you are battling just evaporates. You stop pushing against your internal wall and simply walk through the open door that you finally noticed. Your action shifts from a battlefield to a riverbed. Inertia transforms into motion, not through willpower, but through efficiency and yielding to the inherent energy already present within the task and within yourself. The water of the Tao moves mountains over time precisely because it never tries to push them at once. Be water. Stop struggling to ignite the engine. Simply permit the smallest spark and let the flow take over. The hardest part is simply allowing that spark to exist without demanding the entire fire immediately. So, right now, wherever you are, whatever you have been putting off, identify the tiniest, most microscopic, entirely effortless action you can possibly take. Don't think about it. Don't plan it. Just allow that single, low-friction moment to materialize. The crack is there. Flow.